More than 2,000 Americans were killed and a significant number of battleships and planes were destroyed. But one battleship got underway that morning, starting a remarkable career that spanned both the Atlantic and Pacific theaters in World War II and forging an unsinkable legend. Ed Pierce traces the story of the USS Nevada.
At her launching in 1914, Governor Tasker Oddie promised the USS Nevada's career would be closely followed by every citizen of the state with close personal interest. And for years it was. The Nevada began her career as the fastest battle wagon in the world, but spent World War I on patrol duty in the Atlantic and saw no action. 24 years later, found her berthed at Pearl Harbor with the rest of the battleships of the Pacific Fleet. The Japanese attack caught the Nevada with her senior officers ashore. Lieutenant Commander Frank Thomas, the highest-ranking officer on board, rallied his crew and incredibly got the ship underway. Already damaged by a torpedo, the Nevada made a run for the open sea, fighting as she went, her guns downing some of the first enemy planes of the war. It seemed she might make it until the second wave of bombers hit. Struck by several bombs, she was heavily damaged. The Japanese planes swarmed around her. If she sank in the channel, she would bottle up the harbor for months, so her crew beached her. The only U.S. battleship to get underway that day ended it resting on the sandy bottom at Waipio Point. 2 of the ship's crew received Medals of Honor, the first of the war, 13 the Navy Cross. She was refloated, repaired, and refitted, and having survived the war's tragic beginning, wrote a new storied chapter in naval history. At Normandy, her accurate gunnery earned her a mention by name from a frustrated German commander as an excuse for the failure to repel the landing at Utah Beach. Later in the Pacific, at Iwo Jima, her officers ran her close to shore, shielding others from enemy batteries while returning fire. Off Okinawa, she survived in a Japanese kamikaze attack that killed a dozen of her crew, and the Nevada's unsinkable reputation grew. After the war, she was used as a target for an atomic test at Bikini Atoll and survived. 2 years later, she was towed southwest to Hawaii to be scuttled. Heavy explosives placed aboard failed to sink her. Guided missile bat bombs were fired at her. The battleship Iowa and 3 cruisers then shelled her. She remained afloat. Finally, Navy torpedo bombers sent her to the bottom, the wreckage discovered last year at a depth of 15,000 feet. All in all, a stirring story of American naval history, one discovered decades later by students at Vaughn Middle School. With the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor approaching, they campaigned to get the Nevada's flags out of the basement of the State Museum in time for Nevada Day. And in the process, they corrected a long-time oversight, gaining medals won but never received for a USS Nevada veteran. And finally, a campaign to build a monument to the ship behind the state capitol, a tribute to the survivor of the date which will live in infamy, the unsinkable Nevada. Ed Pierce, KOLO 8 News Now.